Howdy out there, folks. Today we're going to take a look at 1985's Cat's Eye, directed by Lewis Teague, who of course directed Cujo, Alligator, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Navy SEALs, which of course was not a particularly good movie, but I think that Alligator, Cujo, and Cat's Eye are all three pretty decent films. And I would argue that Cat's Eye, which of course is an anthology film, I believe Stephen King wrote the screenplay for it, and it was based on two of his existing short stories, and then he wrote an additional short that dealt with a little troll, and the girl that you see on the cover, played of course by Drew Barrymore, very young Drew Barrymore. That was the new material that he incorporated into the screenplay, as well as sort of connective narrative about this cat that was trying to make its way back to the Drew Barrymore character to save her from a troll that was apparently coming out at night through the wall and trying to steal her breath. Of course, the movie itself is pretty damn good. I would argue it's the Creepshow sequel that we never really got. I mean, Creepshow 2 has its charms. I think the raft segment is quite good. I didn't particularly care for the other segments, and I thought the connective tissue sequence was pretty terrible, unlike the first Creepshow, which of course had live action connecting story that I thought was pretty good and featured, I believe, Stephen King's son, Joe Hill, in that movie. But in any case, I digress. Cat's Eye, 3 shorts. The first, of course, features James Woods and I believe Alan King. And it's about a guy who's trying to quit smoking. And the guy is played by James Woods. And he goes to a place called Quitters Inc. And they have some rather radical methods for getting their clients to stop smoking. I'll just leave it at that. But James Woods is terrific in it, as he so often is. On a personal level, James Woods seems to be a bit of a kook, but there is no denying that his talent as an actor, and even as a comedic actor, is quite good. He's always, whenever he's on screen, he's incredibly magnetic. There's just something about him. He's one of our great unsung actors out there. I think he always brings it. He generally raises the material considerably whenever he's on screen. So kudos to James Woods again in this part. I think he's, again, one of our great character actors. The second film is, I believe it stars Robert Hayes from the Airplane series or movie, and Airplane franchise, I guess. And he's good. I think that the second segment is solid, but not as good as Quitters Inc. And then the third and final segment is about the troll, and I think it's done well as well. And now I listened to the director's commentary, which incidentally, this disc, while it looks good and sounds good, doesn't have a lot of special features. There's a trailer, original theatrical trailer, and then there is a director commentary by Lewis Teague, and I think that's actually pretty good. It's nothing revelatory, but it does a good job at sort of unpacking, and I apologize for moving my disc around. I'm getting bitten up by mosquitoes. He does a good job at explaining all of the in-camera work that they did, which was pretty significant. It was filmed, of course, in 1984, and it's rather remarkable how they achieved many of the effects. Everything was in camera. There was no CGI. And it's pretty interesting, especially the third and final segment regarding the troll and how they accomplished that. So definitely recommend listening to that commentary. And I think for fans of in-camera practical effect work, this is an excellent example of what could be accomplished with some clever tricks of the trade, so to speak. So again, this disc I picked up used for a couple bucks, and I was thrilled to find it on the shelf and quickly snapped it up. Again, Roger Ebert says it's a superior Twilight Zone style anthology, and I'd agree with that. I think it's collectively it's one of the best anthology horror films made. I would put it right alongside the first Creepshow. Incidentally, the Twilight Zone movie, I remember thinking that the final episode, set in the plane with John Lithgow, rather, was terrific, but the rest of the film wasn't particularly good, except for, I believe, the George Miller segment rather, dealing with Cartoon Land and a rather obnoxious child. That one also was pretty good. But these anthologies are typically a mixed bag, but I again would say that Cat's Eye is one of the better ones, and it's certainly shelf worthy, especially for those who enjoy seeing good old school 80s practical effects in their horror movies. And I remember seeing this both in theaters and on VHS several times over the years, and I've always found it to be entertaining. It's a film that I think has held up quite well. So on that note, please do take care out there, stay safe, be kind, and by all means, keep watching good cinema.